if it was left up to the states to administer, people would be racially or ethnically profiled and not get the proper education they needed.
Only 13 states have hate crime laws.
I didn't know that.
Okay, thank you, Marshall, and we'll go to Don.
Bueller.
There I am.
There you are.
Okay. Gee whiz, I want to make two quick points. I've never been a school teacher, but I did work at Scholastic, which is one of the nation's largest publishers of K through 12 educational materials. And I was an editor at a magazine there called America's Agenda, which was a public policy magazine for education. Bill Clinton was on our board of directors. This goes back now, 1994. I don't know how long ago that is, a while ago. The concentration of public federal spending on let's just call it at risk. We used to use that phrase. I don't know, Gary, if you remember that phrase, at-risk children, which has to do with economic and predictions about who's going to fail.
Yep, I remember the term. In fact, I thought it was still being used, but maybe it's just because I still use old terms.
Yeah. I wanted to make 2 points. The first has to do with culture and the role that the Department of Education has played in cultural indoctrination. And I don't always see that as a negative. Going back to early industrial age education, when the purpose of education was to make sure that immigrants could work in factories and not because we were industrializing at the end of the between 1880 and 1920, and we institutionalized education as a culture. And I don't know if you remember this phrase, the melting pot, and where education.
Yes, are we still supposedly a melting pot?
Well, I think since Jesse Jackson with the Rainbow Coalition, we have emphasized identity as opposed to melting. And that's taken place over 50 years, half a century. And but the point being is that the federal government, through various departments, not the Department of Education specifically, so that's more recent, culturally supported homogenization, Americanization. Now, I was a student of the 50s, and remember this very much. Forgetting the language of the country you came from. In my case, it was Italy, and we did everything we could to homogenize ourselves into the American culture. That's one of the sort of cultural functions of education. Nowadays, the cultural function is shifted to a more, I guess you might call DEI, or I don't know. I'm not hip enough to know what they are, but I would say that they are distinctly different than what they were, say, in 1962, when the President of the United States, Jack Kennedy, was going on TV telling us to all work out and stay physically fit. Gary, you might be too young for that.
Of course I remember that.
So there's a difference in the cultural purpose and function of centralized governments, participation in education. And then the other thing has to do with the post-civil rights purpose of the Department of Education, post-1970 or 1968, if you will, in which the Department of Education became part of a series of departmental actions. We used to call it the Great Society. I don't know what people use that, what phrase they use.
Oh, Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. No, see, when I interrupted you, I knocked your audio. Yeah, your connection is bad. Your audio connection.
Okay, well, let me see. I don't know.
Now you're back.
Am I back? Okay.
And now you're gone. Are you using some kind of external microphone? It sounds like the connection to the microphone to the phone is substandard. No good. No bueno. No bueno. So, lo siento. Okay, David.
Oh, sorry, Dominic lost his mic. I was enjoying some of his comments. Yeah, I think we need to look at some statistics here, Gary, to kind of drill down on why or why not the Department of Education should be dismantled. I just read that 20% of the adult population in America are considered illiterate or functionally illiterate, and that 54% can barely read at a 6th grade level. So if we start there, that's a horrible statistic. I like to juxtapose that statistic to a nation that's 90 miles to the south of us. I'm speaking of the communist ran island of Cuba, where 99% of their island's population is literate. Less than 1% is illiterate. So when we compare the two, economically we're richer, but academically as a percentage, we're not as literate. There's been a lot of great anecdotal commentary as well, and I'd like to add my 2 cents with regard to that as well. When my father came to this country, he was 13 years old and did not speak a lick of English. He was raised in very strong schools in Cuba, and when he got to this country, my family came to Southern California, which was sort of the Beach Boy Los Angeles that many see in the movies and the old TV shows and what have you. And when it came time to enroll my father into a high school, the school district where my grandfather bought a house and paid taxes and was living wanted to bus my father to an all Spanish-speaking high school or more Spanish-speaking high school in East Los Angeles. And my grandfather obviously fought that, and my father tested. Long story longer, my father graduated from an all-white high school in wealthy Manhattan Beach, California, with high honors at 16, and he enrolled in an undergraduate program at the University of Pacific with a full scholarship in science, and it was pre-med. So you can make the argument as nature, as nurture, but I think ultimately it's prioritizing education so that we don't have these numbers like 20% that don't function illiterate or what have you. I mean, those are horrible. I mean, we won the war for gosh sakes in World War II, and yet we're losing an academic war and a war which involves the most smartest brain power on the planet today with regard to running.
So is this an argument? For dismantling or maintaining the education?
I'm saying we got to do some house cleaning. We got to maintain it, but allocate it and have accountability. I would say that to get rid of it is to further, in my opinion, for Marcia's point, is to further a demise of the students who very much need the funds, who need the money, the schools that do require that. And granted, there's a lot of kids that fall through the cracks, right? For some of the reasons that have been pointed out with family, with bad houses. You got drugs rampant with Oxycontin and all that stuff that riddles communities. So there's a lot of social problems as well that obviously run headlong into the money being spent, and money's not going to cure that. Let's get right down to brass tacks on that. But I will say that when I went to the University of California, out of the community where I went, and I didn't have the opportunity to go to an all-white high school that my father went to. When I got to college, speaking to Anson's point about his I believe it was his niece or granddaughter, can't remember, sorry about that, Anson, I forgot, but I met students that had 48 B units, and I was asking, well, what the hell is that? Yeah, I think I knew about maybe one of them, and these kids came from wealthier high schools in California, where they were afforded these classes and these opportunities, where my school district, from what I can surmise now that after I came home, asked a lot of questions, was that they just didn't have the money to implement these classes, or they didn't think the kids were smart enough to have those classes implemented, whatever the case may be. And then to get down to the teaching aspect, you got a guy named Jaime Escalante. There was a famous movie made about him, starring Edward James Olmos, called Stand and Deliver. And he went to a Latino high school called Garfield. And he instilled that these kids could pass AP calculus. In short order, he had graduate after graduate testing 3, 4, and 5 on the hardest test probably in the AP system. Because he didn't care about the funding, he didn't care about what was limited or not limited. He taught to the students, he understood their culture, and he made them believe they could succeed. So why can't we replicate that all over the country?
Well, it is being replicated. I can't tell
But it's
you.
not.
Well, it is being replicated. I could give you anecdotal evidence of it being replicated. And by the way, the approaches at the various schools where I've seen this replicated is very different. They're different approaches. The bottom line is that the educators in these schools believe that the children, no matter their socioeconomic background, no matter their race, can succeed. And they drill that into the minds of the children. The approaches can be completely different, but in each case, in the schools that I am aware of, because I've visited them and I've reported on them, they've had tremendous success. And in some of the cases, there's a lot of money being thrown behind the school, and in some of the cases, there's very little money being thrown behind the school. So it's not necessarily a question of money, it's a question of attitude on the part of the educators, in my experience.
Yeah, no, and absolutely, and that also, involves parents that are involved. The schools that can hire the best teachers. The best teachers want to work in these schools with the best students. So it's kind of a chicken or egg scenario. My friend's wife was the administrator of such a school in Detroit, and the salaries that was being offered to the teachers was substantially less than the Confederation of Teacher contract provided for them in the public schools, and yet she found no difficulty in recruiting the best teachers she could find from the various public schools. They took cuts in pay and benefits to work in her school because they really wanted to teach the kids, and the kids responded. Yeah, and Gary, listen, man, if you're a top of your class graduate of a top university, and you don't really have the passion or love to be a game changer, to change lives, but you don't look at this like a higher calling, like going into the priesthood, they're not paying enough money for these top graduates to go into these schools and try to change lives. So I think we could take some of this money, all this money we're absconding out of the coffers into these ICE facilities and all this other crap. Why aren't we using that to pay teachers top dollar and pay the ones and not just do it for the money, but have them sell themselves in a way that they really want to do this, and then pay them something along the lines of what first-year engineers make. Right, I understand it's a market-driven economy.
But the education department does not determine salaries on the local level, and the education department does not determine the attitude that I just exampled. So I don't know really whether what you and I are talking about is even germane to the discussion.
Well, it is because if we have the best teachers, working miracles, a lot of the worst students, we had better results. And if they didn't frame this whole cutting thing, I believe they're framing this whole gutting in the Department of Education, Gary, from an ideological Trojan horse hiding behind the ball perspective. They think this is a godless, trans, woke, a school system, or a department that's hell bent on undermining the other side's rights of view of the world. And you also see them going after the voucher system, taking the tax dollars and applying that to parochial schools, right? So what happens is when you bleed the coffers even more for special interests, for families that want to send their kids to parochial schools, that further weakens the public system as well. So I think there's an agenda afoot here. And a lot of states, Gary, do not have the funds to allocate in the way that the Department of Education does. And so they're going to lose a lot of money, particularly here in Los Angeles, where Los Angeles Unified School District is the second largest in the country. And I believe its budget, Gary, is upwards of $6 billion or higher. So where are they going to get the funds to replace those monies? Are they going to go to the rich Southern California homeowners who are already sending their kids to private schools because LA Unified sucks? You're going to go back. You're going to go to them and ask them to pay more so they can fund their schools? I think it's going to happen. So you're going to have a further demise in educational output based upon those loss of dollars.
Thank you, David. We'll go to Jules, Les, and Steve. Jules.
Yeah, Gary, how you doing? You're on opposite the 5, so I lowered down the sound on the 5 to hear great speakers like Anson, Steve, and Dominic, who I love to hear. And I'm looking at the captions. Education Union teaches children how to fight against Trump. Insanity like that. And she was screaming like a crazy one. I'm glad the sound was off, and I give you a lot of credit for that, Gary. To answer your question first, I believe that school success starts locally. I think the Department of Education for the nation should maybe focus on special education, at the very least, and I don't think much more. But I want to tell you something. We are a failed school system, and I want to bring up a few key things. When I walk around my neighborhood, you guys know I live in New York, you hear my accent. When I pass a high school or junior high school, we could play the game, guess the brand of marijuana being used. I mean, they smoke it out in the open. Unless you want to say something. They smoke it out in the open, and it's just this is the conditions. They're all stoned out in class. That's number one. Just differentiating between my days in school, my children's days in school, and now it's legal. So also phones. Everybody has phones in classes. Messaging, texting, messaging, whatever, the same thing. You don't pay attention. I mean, let's face it, you're there for education. Get educated. Put away the phone.
What does that have to do with the funding or defunding of the education department?
It's like I said, I don't think it's local. It's local mostly. The education department should be for maybe special education. And of course, you could throw money all you want to certain areas and you're still going to get 3% of high school students graduating with proficiency in arithmetic.
So are you subscribing to Scott's contention that it's the local school boards that are ultimately responsible for failing education in the United States?
I wish I could do Scott's Trump impersonation, but yes, I agree with Scott on that. It's local school boards, and they're largely not identifying the problems. And I mean, smoke pot everywhere you go. It's a social. It's become more of a social thing than an educational thing. School in the cities, and everybody's failing. Also, dumbing down. My notes here. Dumbing down the SATs. You don't have to take the SATs. You could write a composition instead. Come on. SATs weeded out your intelligence, and it sent you, or gave you the opportunity to go to a school that could fulfill your needs educationally. And not only SATs, local high schools in New York City, we have Stuyvesant High School, which is one of the best high schools ever. You have to take a test to go there. They're trying now they were trying to have certain minorities go there who didn't pass the test, which is ridiculous.
They have a lot of minorities going there, but the minorities are the majority, and the minority are the Asians, right?
Right, but they made it because they passed the test, not because of their skin color or anything. I'll throw in a thing. My son attended Stuyvesant High School, and what's the perfect score in physics? 800. It's like an SAT score. He got an 800. I said, wow, I'm so proud of you. He goes, my whole class got 800. So, that's the type of students to go there. And, I'm not trying to be partial to a smart student, but I think education is to get the potential out of all students. I also think, I know I'm going to get pushback by this, you got to speak English. English is a must. We're in America. English is our official language, says the president, and everybody has to speak English. I remember in 4th grade, all of a sudden one day we come to class and we see this guy there. He was from Italy. Didn't speak a word of English. Yet he sat in class. I don't know how he got through it. He ended up eventually becoming a doctor. So I guess he caught on quickly to English and everything else that are involved. We have to have standards. Reading, writing, and arithmetic is
So do you support the education department giving national standards and insisting upon them?
No, because every areas are different. I don't know why local standards, I don't think national standards, people aren't learning the same things. So I don't think that would be good, national standards. How do you apply national standards to specialized high school? How do you apply, all those students have to take the same entrance exams for college, unless you want to do away with that altogether. It's being diminished now. So, you have to start off locally. If kids are failing, you don't let them graduate to the next grade. You can't have people graduating high school. What is the education department of this country stand on kids graduating high school and they have 3rd grade math? They have a 3rd grade arithmetic ability. I mean, how do we allow that? So I think I agree with Scott. I'll just land my plane like that. Local school boards, if they want to be wrong, it's on them. If they want to hire bad teachers, it's on them. If they don't want to be because they don't
It
have
turns out that according to the kosher rules in Judaism, camels are only half halal. They do chew the cud, but their hoods don't slip vertically, so they're automatically haram. Well, it's very different from Islam. Camel meat is actually halal and is often a special menu during the sacrifice or hajj. These two religions both follow the holy book, but the end result is different. So different.
Thank you, Jules. Scott, you were in and out, but I just want to recap for you that on several occasions, Jules said he agreed with you. So mark that down in your diary.
This is
Because I think it's effective, it's working, and I think if we could close down Tesla, that would be a wonderful thing.
good to see you, man.
No, it's good to see you, man, too. And I do agree with you, what you said.
Les, you get the last.
So, $200 billion or $250 billion is a lot of money, and if they can either return it to people, and if the states think it's important, if there's something important that's not being done, they can tax the local people, the people in their state. In terms of comparing us to Germany doesn't have the same policy of getting everyone through college. There's a great number of people that go to vocational schools, and you can make a lot of money as a plumber. There's nothing, not everybody, not all jobs require college or benefit from college. And college costs a lot of money too. So those are, and the other problem I see is that you look at the Chicago school district, which I was familiar with, and my particular schools in my neighborhood were actually pretty good. But the city as a whole, most of the places were not that great, and they had a lot of people, what we call downtown, administrative people, who really didn't have anything to do with teaching kids. And that's very expensive. And, it just creates a bureaucracy that someone was complaining about, having to go to meetings and stuff. And they keep on loading these other things onto schools. Schools need to do their primary job superbly before they are asked to take on other responsibilities. And one problem we have, of course, is that everybody thinks they're an expert on what could change in education. And one problem is that the determining factors of success, you can make anything work if you just have one teacher who is particularly excellent, but that one teacher doesn't scale up. And the other thing about success is it also depends on, of course, the students that come in and their motivation and your peers. And that also has to do with the quality of the education you get. We had troublemakers in my grade school that impaired the education. They really weren't there to learn. And, discipline is hard, but that's a different story. And in terms of functions that, it's probably good for the government to do, the government does census-like things and keeping track of statistics, national statistics, and I think they should continue doing that. Thank you.
I went to a very tough junior high school. Now you know my age, because when I went, they were called middle schools. And it was sort of like Grease, the Broadway play and movie Grease with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. It was a very tough junior high school. But we all managed, and we got out of it, and we went to high school. and our high school at the time was rated pretty high academically. We were only one of a number of junior high schools that fed into it, I recognize. But somehow, in spite of the fact that we had a bunch of miscreants in our school, both our junior high and in our high school, everybody seems to have managed to go forward in life. Some of us went into academics in college afterwards. Some went into trades, but everybody seems to have managed okay. I don't know why people are having such trouble today managing, and I can't say that it is the fault of or in spite of the education department. And it'll be interesting to see this experiment if they are successful in eliminating the education department and just sending block grants to the various states. I think that's what they plan to do. Whether there will be an improvement or not in education, I, for one, am not holding my breath. Folks, we're here Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. New York time, so at 5 p.m. New York time, or until 5 p.m. New York time tomorrow for the next edition of the Critical Thinking Forum. Everybody be safe, be well, and peace out.
Good night, GB.
They told I said,
People doing it.
let me ask you a question, right? And people don't know this. So I did an award-winning commercial years ago, basketball commercial. So we got a Clio, that shit ran. I made some decent dollars. And I was able to get into the SAG union. And I was able to get that insurance. Y'all, if y'all don't know, for dental, SAG is absolutely the best in the world. You can get your shit done. I don't know how.
Yeah, SAG is good.
Right. So my daughter, and I was working on Wall Street at the same time. So I had a primary insurance and I had a secondary insurance. And my daughter, who y'all know has sickle cell, I'm gonna be celebrating her passing on 7/25, like in a couple of days. So
I'm sorry.
yeah. So there was a time when she was in the hospital, right? And I got this big ass bill. And yo, that shit got paid. I didn't have to fill out any paperwork or any SAG came in, swooped in, and just paid that shit. So shout out to SAG. Shout out to SAG.
SAG can do that. You know what the whole thing about it is? Okay, you can do. Matter of fact, I submit my actors here in a little bit. I'll talk to you guys. But the whole thing is SAG is rough, but yeah, they'll take care of the actors. They'll take care of their people. So that's good that she's a SAG actor. But you gotta the cost is kind of high, and you can't do non-union stuff. And now non-union stuff is really like going nuts now. So I mean, you can make $2,000-$3,000 special on a commercial. You can make $5,000.
Yeah, that's what you. I make way more than that, but I tell people, actors,
See,
I was just do your commercials first, like get that residual income. That shit lasts. Forget about it. Shit lasts a long time. It's like the older fees, and then it went wild spot, man.
The best thing you can do is be SAG eligible. SAG eligible is the best thing you can do. SAG, you're in the middle. So you can do SAG shit and you can do non-union stuff. And I tell all my actors, like, I only look for mainly what I'm managing, because I'm with a big company now. So when I'm managing these actors, tell them, like, dude, I look for SAG eligible people. I look for non-union, which is cool. Because if you SAG, you're gonna be on the big TV shows. And I need a series regular fucking like now. No, seriously. I'm tired of this shit.
I love that shit, man. So, but
hit me up. If you're still in it, dude, let me know.
Yeah, well, I'm going now. I'm transitioning into professional speaking. So,
but if you want to do commercials or something like that, I got you.
Yeah,
you seem like an intelligent man, dude.
Thank you. You in New York? You in New York?
No, I'm in LA.
So I took an acting class with the people who casted me for the Reed Melski casting. Have you heard of them?
you with different commercials if you want that. Like, you know.
Sounds good. Amazing. Just ping each other in a room or message each other.
So you just getting jealous right now.
Happy Bruce.
I got you, dude. I'm gonna add you right now, Robert. I already got you added. Right.
Hopefully he hasn't been drinking today. Anyway.
Oh, I've been drinking like a month. But the whole point is, you know, say nigga, like if you know, you want to do a couple commercials or some shit like that, I got you.
That's some good.
Look at that video in the chat. Look at New York. Look what's happening.
The flood. We got him with the flood shit, right? Hold on, let me see.
Mel know me for a minute.
Mel.
I could put Mel on, but she want to be retarded.
This is Bruce. I don't want to be acting. I'm not an actor, okay?
Yeah, I know.
Alright, so Lisa.
I just want to stick my middle finger up and look cute.
Lisa, did you get something to eat? What's going on with you? Did you kind of sound hangry earlier, so I'm just kind of. No? Well, I guess we just listening to Lisa's replays tonight.
Hey, what's going on?
Nah, Lisa's
What are we going to do?
Nah, Lisa's supposed to.
Somebody say you could say the American founding was done by people who definitely had a lot of money.
Oh, Lord, oh, count down.